need a raglan sweater pattern for an iconic sweater that I want to make. Let's draft a pattern. This is a store-bought raglan sweater. As you can see, unlike a set-in sleeve sweater, the sleeve kind of like merges into the shoulder and ends actually at the neckline. And these kinds of sweaters are worn with a little more ease because they don't fit as closely. Let's go through the pattern pieces real quick. So sleeves are nice and easy. We have a ribbed cuff, cast on, trapezoid up, bind off, trapezoid into the shoulder, and then these are going to be live stitches. So really basic. And then the front and the back, we have ribbing, knit, bind off for the underarm, and then decrease, and then we have some kind of rounded neckline here. And then it's very similar in the back, except I'm going to go straight across because it meets here. And then this is actually goes to 0. There's no live stitches here. And then this side gets joined to this side, and then this underarm, and then the body of the sweater. So this is actually really basic. The hard part is this front neckline, because we get up to here to where the neckline starts. You need to continue the raglan decreases on the side while also decreasing for the neckline. And I started drafting this pattern before and got stuck here getting the math right and the explanations to make sense to do the two things at once, because like half of this goes into hold and you shape one and then you shape the other, but then this decrease has to be the same even in this section up here. But I think I have it figured out now, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me draft a pattern. Okay, I have the first draft of the sweater pattern, but I'm gonna warn you, I got bored halfway through and completely rebuilt my website. So it's gonna look a little different. It used to be in React. It is not anymore. It's in a different framework that I will talk about at some point in the future, but just know it's different now. Let me show you. Here we go, the fancy new website. It may not look like this by the time I publish all of this, but we have all of our inputs. We've gauge for the body and also the ribbing, and then your standard, like the size of the sweater that you want. And then we have the body panel, which is just a big rectangle. And then you start doing the shaping with like trapezoid stuff. And then this is my explanation of decrease on both sides at once. We'll see how that goes. The back panel is very similar. And then plain old sleeves with a couple trapezoids, and then assembly instructions. All right, let's knit the first prototype. Okay, first sleeve, and I'm making the short sleeve just to make it a little easier to prototype. But we have our cast on with the ribbing, and then we go up to the underarm bind off, and then we decrease from there. And we already have our first issue. And it's the way that I calculate trapezoids for the pattern generator. Like, I try to keep the decrease cadence the same all the way through, even though if like you wind up with a big remainder on the end where you're just knitting flat, and that winds up looking really weird on a raglan. So I want to try to make that more balanced. So it's like you decrease every 2 for a while and you decrease every 3 until the end, but I have to sort out the math for that. So that needs to be fixed. Actually, let me do that before I even knit the second sleeve, because that shouldn't be too bad. Because this is too funky with this long section here. This is more than an inch of just plain knitting when it gets to the top. Okay, let me fix that. Okay, sleeve number 2. It's the same up to here. Well, the cadence of the trapezoid is a little different. And then we have an actual more reasonable looking decrease here without having the long straight section at the end. And it took a couple tries, but I think I've got the trapezoid sorted out. Because I'm using an abstraction, this updates all the trapezoids in all the patterns to now do this more smooth thing instead of leaving like a big remainder at the end. For a reminder, here was the first sleeve. It's got this big straight section, and this is all decreases. It's like every other needle, every other row up to here, and then every third row up to the rest of it. So the slope is a little bit different, but it's fine. And I changed colors after the bind off so we can get a better idea of how this impacts the fit, because I suspect it will. We'll see. We'll see how this all works out. All right, I already did the back because it's boring. It's just ribbing and then straight up and then bind off for the underarm and then trapezoid up to the neckline width. And that's it. So let me show you the front, which I have already knit all the way up to the underarm bind off here, and then we decrease. Okay, it's time to start shaping the neckline. So according to my pattern, 65 stitches into hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then all the shaping happens over here. And I'm switching colors so we can see it better in the final sweater. Okay, I'm doing 2 things at once. So I'm gonna knit a row. Oh, wait, okay. Knit a row. And then every other row I'm decreasing on the outside edge, and every row I'm decreasing on the inside edge, but only for the first 6 rows. Okay. So that's 1 decrease. And then we knit a row. Let me tie these off. And then I'm going to decrease on both sides. Okay, knit a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's all of the interior decreases. So now we're just decreasing on the outside edge every other row. And this should get all the way down to nothing. Will it though? Will it though? Oh, my math might not be right. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is close to my stitch gauge, which means this is based on old math in the pattern. All right, I'm gonna go fix this before I do the other side. Okay, got it fixed. It turns out I need to put more needles into hold to get the decreases to look right on the edge. So I'm gonna take these off on waist yarn and then deal with them when I do the neckline. This is just a prototype anyway. Okay, here's the whole sweater back on the machine to do the neckline, and in this process, I realized a couple of things. First, the math for the neckline says I need 140 stitches. This is way more than 140 stitches. I had 70, let's see, 70 to 70 here, but this is 70 to 90, so it's an extra 20 stitches, which is approximately whatever 20 divided by 7 is. 7 and times 2 is 14, so it's about 3 extra inches. That's fine. But I redid the math, and it looks like the back neckline winds up too long, so I'm going to fix that. And then we have this extra piece here where the decreases weren't right for this part of the neckline. It's not going to be quite right, but I'm going to finish it anyway just to see how it goes. So now we put the ribbing on this. Okay, here's the first prototype. And it's not right, which kind of expected because it's the first prototype. Let me show you. So first, it doesn't have enough ease, which is ridiculous because I told you at the beginning that you need more ease on a Raglan sweater, and then I didn't add enough. Second, the sleeves aren't right. I was expecting the sleeves to come out like about here, and I think I know why. Because I assumed that this trapezoid here would be closer to down here, and then just kind of stretch up. But that's not the way it works, and it's more like it's the shoulder distance. The trapezoid up from the underarm bind-off to the neckline is just the shoulder distance. But because this is a raglan, and this front piece needs to meet the shoulder piece, this distance along this seam needs to be the same on both sides. So the distance from here to here is just going to be the armhole depth. From here to here, this is the armhole depth. So another problem is that I drafted this as bicep circumference, but because this gets pulled up, it actually needs more ease. So I think instead I'm going to draft this based on the armhole depth, because we know that's this distance here, and then I know what the normal underarm bind off is, so I can add a couple inches and give it like something standard. But I kind of like how I did the sections in different colors so you could see how it contributes. It helps me figure out why it doesn't fit right, and also hopefully helps you understand how the pieces get knit. All right, let me go fix these problems in the pattern and then work on the next prototype. Okay, I have one of the newly redrafted sleeves, and I want to explain how my thinking about this has changed. So originally when I drafted this, I drafted it as if the underarm shelf, which is right here, would get connected here? Yeah, here. And then the beginning of the sleeve head would sit like right there, like in line with your armpit, and then this would come up. And I don't know how I was considering this would stretch, because this distance is just armhole depth, so I was expecting it to like stretch, and this raglan sleeve would wind up like that, and this knit part would just stretch out. But with the new way I've drafted this, I know that this winds up hiked up here, and that the underarm measurement isn't the same as a set-in sleeve, and this winds up more like the armhole circumference is this transition here. So instead of including a bicep circumference that I was going to use to figure out how wide the sleeve needs to be at the underarm bind off, I'm now doing it based on the armhole depth because I know this triangle now. So in order for this to match with the front, like front and back pieces, this length needs to be the same. So this length is underarm depth. And then this is based on how big the circumference of the armpit's going to be. And I think this works better. And it's a little easier to calculate the whole thing. All right, let me finish the rest of the sweater. Okay, I rehung all the sections to do the neckline, and I don't think I explained this well the first prototype, but let me explain what's going on here now. So we go body panel, sleeve, in that order. Just the top sections, and the live stitches go on as they are, and then for the top front neckline, you have to pick up some along the edge where you get the decreases. And you can do this in whatever order you want, but I want the seam for the neckline to wind up on the back. So the gap that I have that I'll have to seam eventually is the back panel and a sleeve. So let's add some ribbing to this. Okay, here's the second prototype, and I made it cropped because the length of the sweater was not an issue that we needed to fix before. I added a little bit more ease so it fits a little bit better, and also I changed the way I draft this circumference to make it based on the armhole depth, and I think this is what we're going to go with. The sleeves are the length that I expect them to be, because now the sleeve length goes from the underarm bind off to the end of the sleeve, and then we just assume that this is going to be like shoulder width, and all of the seams match up, and the construction details make sense, and I'm happy with this. I'm going to call it here. The pattern will be up on my website, and the new website will be launched by the time this goes out, so please check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have any trouble as well, because the framework that I've rewritten this thing in is kind of still doesn't fully support web yet, so if there are any issues, I'd like to know about them, mostly because it's my day job to fix them. So go check it out, let me know what you think. I also added some new ways that it behaves, so that might be interesting. Let me know if it bothers you. We'll see. I want to say thank you to channel members who make videos like this possible. If you'd like to become a channel member, you can click the join button down below. All channel members get early access to new videos, and channel members at the mid-tier and higher get access to members-only videos, like the most recent one where I explain why I didn't publish a video last week because my day job's kicking my ass. And I did some unboxing for a future project, so go check that out if that's your thing. Thanks for watching. Happy knitting.